Hi, everybody. My hair's a little bit of a mess. I've been snowshoeing, so I got my Jane at Green Gables look going, which is, yeah, when you're snowshoeing, you want your hair tied up in braids. But I wanted to quick get in chapter 3, so I rushed to my sunroom. The husband's taking over the living room. Don't want to bother him. This is Max Lucado's book, He Still Moves Stones, and we're reading chapter 3. And chapter 3 is Don't Miss the Party. Don't miss the party. The Dungeon of the Bitter. Ew. I don't like bitter. By the way, it was a lovely day up north. Lots of snow. The creek was running from Franklin Lake to Butternut Lake. That means the lakes are full. We found all the benches. They all made it. We could not even see the bench to campsite 9. We think it's there under the snow. If not, if it's gone, we'll just make another one. We've done it before. Okay. This is from Luke 15, verse 25 through 32. Max always starts a chapter with a nice verse. The older son was in the field, and as he came closer to the house, he heard the sound of music and dancing. So he called to one of the servants and asked what all this meant. The servant said, "Your brother has come back, and your father killed the fat calf because your brother came home safely." The older son was angry and would not go into the feast. So his father went out and begged him to come in. But the older son said to the father, "I have served you like a slave for many years and have always obeyed your commands, but you never gave me even a young goat to have at a feast with my friends. But your other son, who wasted all your money on prostitutes, comes home and you kill the fat calf for him." Father said to him, "Son, you are always with me, and all that I have is yours. We had to celebrate and be happy because your brother was dead, but now he is alive. He was lost, but now he is found." What a blessing we always take for granted when we're not lost. The case of the elder brother. And he also emphasizes the older son was angry and would not go into the feast. A difficult one because he looked so good. He kept his room straight and his nose clean. He played by the rules and paid all his dues. His resume, impeccable. His credit, squeaky clean. Loyalty, whew. While his brother was sowing his wild oats, he stayed home and sowed the crops. On the outside, he was everything a father could want in a son. But on the inside, he was sour and hollow, overcome by jealousy, consumed by anger, blinded by bitterness. The bitterness. You remember the story. It's perhaps the best known of all the parables Jesus told. It's the third of 3 stories in Luke 15. 3 stories of 3 parties. The first began after a shepherd found a sheep he'd lost. He had 99 others. He could have been content to write this one off as a loss. But shepherds don't think like businessmen. So he searched for it. When he found the sheep, he carried it back to the flock, cut the best grass for the sheep to eat, and had a party to celebrate. Why not party with sheep? That's all you got. You got to party who you're with. The second party was held in front of a house. A housewife had lost a coin. It wasn't her only coin, but would have thought it was by the way she acted. She moved the furniture, got out the dust mop, and swept the whole house till she found it. And when she did, she ran shouting into the cul-de-sac and invited her neighbors over for a party to celebrate. That's something my mother would have done. Then there is the story of the lost son, the prodigal child, the boy who broke his father's heart by taking his inheritance and taking off. He trades his dignity for a whiskey bottle and his self-respect for a pig pen. Then comes the son's sorrow and his decision to go home. Swallow all his pride and go home. He hopes his dad will give him a job on the farm and an apartment over the garage. Heck, the stall next to the cows would have been better where he was. What he finds is a father who has kept his absent son's place set at the table and the porch light on every night, waiting. The father is so excited to see his son. You'll never guess what he does. That's right, he throws a party. I like the part where he saw him from a distance and he recognized him and he just went running. We party-loving prodigals love what he did, but it infuriated the elder brother. The older son was angry. It's not hard to see why. So is this how a guy gets recognition in this family? Get drunk and go broke and you get a party? So he sat outside the house and he pouted. I did that once. I pouted at a party, a Christmas party. I was in fourth grade. Fourth graders take parties very seriously, especially when there are gifts involved. We had drawn names. Since you didn't know who had your name, you had to drop your hints very loudly. I didn't miss a chance. I wanted a sixth finger, a toy pistol that fit in the cleft of your hand and looked like a finger. Honest, it did exist. Good gravy. A sixth finger. Finally, the day came to open the gifts. I just knew I was going to get my pistol. Everyone in the class had heard my hints. I tore into the wrapping and ripped open the box, and you know what I got? Stationery. Western stationery. Paper and envelopes with horses in the corners. Yuck. Probably left over from the Christmas before. 10-year-old boys don't write letters. What was this person thinking? No doubt some mom forgot all about the present until this morning. So she went to the closet and rumbled about until she came out with stationery. Tie my hands and feet and throw me in the river. I was distraught. I was upset. So I missed the party. I was present, but I pouted. There was so much more to that party than just present giving. He missed it all. Pouting's a waste of time. So did the big brother. He too felt he was a victim of inequity. When his father came out to meet him, the son started at the top, listing the atrocities of his life. To hear him say it, his woes began the day he was born. I have served you like a slave. Well, really, your other brother went out and he found out what a real slave was like. For many years, and have always obeyed your commands. But you never gave me even a young goat to have at a feast with my friends. But you have had every fatted cow every year with this family. But your other son, who wasted all your money on prostitute, comes home, and you kill the fat calf for him. I kill a fat calf every year, and you were here. It appears that both sons spent time in the pig pen, one in the pen of rebellion, the other in the pen of self-pity. The younger one has come home. The older one hasn't. He's still in the slop. He is saying the same thing you said when the kid down the street got a bicycle and you didn't. It's not fair. Guess what? Life's not fair. Get over it. Learn to make the best of it. That's what Wanda Holloway of Channelview, Texas said when it looked like her 14-year-old daughter wouldn't get elected to the cheerleading squad. Wanda got angry. She decided to get even. She hired a hitman to kill the mother of her daughter's chief competitor, hoping to so upset the girl that Wanda's daughter would make the squad. Bitterness will do that to you. It'll cause you to burn down your house to kill a rat. I remember that. That really happened. Fortunately, her plan failed and Wanda Holloway was caught. She was sentenced to 15 years. She didn't have to be put behind bars to be imprisoned, however. Bitterness is its own prison. Black and cold, bitterness denies easy escape. Can you imagine how embarrassed her daughter was that her mother did that? Mom, she didn't have to be put behind bars to be imprisoned. Bitterness is its own prison, black and cold. Bitterness denies easy escape. The sides are slippery with resentment. The floor of muddy anger stills the feet. The stench of betrayal fills the air and stings the eyes. A cloud of self-pity blocks the view of the tiny exit above. Every now and then, when either my mom or I would go on a poor me, we started saying to each other, What? You're having a pity party and you didn't invite me? I am really mad at you now. we always laughed. We always smiled and laughed. You're having a pity party and you didn't invite me. Please feel free to use that. I hope you get laughter too. Step in and look at the prisoners. Victims are chained to the walls. Victims of betrayal. Victims of abuse. Victims of the government, the system, the military, the world. They lift their chains. They lift their voices and wail. Loud and long they wail. Poor me. I'm a victim. Sounds like the Democratic Party. Shh. I'm going to get kicked off again on YouTube. Here I go. I just can't help myself. They censor us conservatives. I used to be Democratic. I changed 1992 when Bill Clinton came along, and since I have been visiting Arkansas already for a couple of years and knew all about Bill Clinton and Hillary and the troubles they were into. And then I investigated him further and I found out that he went to Russia when he was a student in college and protested against America while he was in Russia. And now they were electing him president. It didn't make sense to me. I left the Democratic Party, became an independent, stayed an independent until 2016, and now I'm a Republican because their party platform aligns with my beliefs. So there, now you know that about me. And I'm happy you're here. I'm not a victim. I'm not yelling, I'm a victim anymore. They grumble. They're angry at others who got what they didn't. They sulk. The world is against them. They accuse. It's all your fault. The pictures of their enemies. I added that one. I was really good at that one. The pictures of their enemies are darted to the wall. They boast, I followed the rules. I played fairly. In fact, better than anybody else. They whine, nobody listens to me. Nobody remembers me. Nobody cares about me. Angry, sullen, accusatory, arrogant, whiny. Put them all together in one word and spell it. Bitter. Bitter. You put them all in one person. That person is in the pit, the dungeon of bitterness. The dungeon, deep and dark, is beckoning you to enter. You can, You've experienced enough hurt. You've been betrayed enough times. Heck yeah. You have a history of rejection, sure, by even the people I love the most. Don't you? Haven't you been left out? Left behind? Oh, yeah. Or left out in the cold? Um, Probably. You are a candidate for the dungeon. Ain't going. You can choose, like Minnie, to chain yourself to your hurt. Ah! Or you can choose, like some, to put away your hurts before they become hates. You can choose to go to the party. I'm going to the party. You have a place there. Your name is beside a plate. Oh, yeah. I was just thinking of this verse last night. He sets table before my enemies. My cup overflows. A feast. A feast for me in front of my enemies. I ain't missing that party. If you are a child of God, no one can take away your sonship or daughtership. Which is precisely what the father said to the older son. Son, you are always with me, and all that I have is yours. And that is precisely what the father says to you. How does God deal with your bitter heart? He reminds you that what you have already is more important than what you don't have. Yeah. Yep. You still have your relationship with God. No one can take that. No one can touch it. Your health can be taken and your money stolen, but your place at God's table is permanent. That's true. I was recently on Facebook and shared a post about a father and his daughter that was particularly beautiful. And immediately upon sharing it, I got this thing from Ellen DeGeneres saying, you've been chosen to, you can be one of 100 people who win like $8,000 or something, blah, 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 blah. And I looked at that and I thought, well, if I win something like that, then I'll have to go on the show probably. Yuck. Won't be anonymous. Do I really want that money? Nah. And I said to Ellen, give this to someone else. This was my response. I replied to her and I said, give it to someone else. Because you know what I got this year? I got a husband who's free of cancer. That has more value than anything anybody could ever give me. Give it away to someone else who needs it. I'm learning to go to the party. I'm glad I left that victimhood behind. I'm going to keep trying to choose that party. Or you can choose, like some, to put away your hurts before they become a hate. You can choose to go to the party. You have a place there. Your name is beside a plate. If you're a child of God, no one can take away your sonship, which is precisely what the father said to the older son. Son, you are always with me, and all that I have is yours. Reflect on what you have and be thankful. And that is precisely what the Father says to you. How does God deal with your bitter heart? He reminds you that what you have is more important than what you don't have. You still have your relationship with God. No one can take that. No one can touch it. Your health can be taken away and your money stolen, but your place at God's table is permanent. The brother was bitter because he focused on what he didn't have and forgot what he did have. His father reminded him and us that he had everything he had always had. He had his job, his place, his name, his inheritance. The only thing he didn't have was the spotlight. Do you really want it? Do you really want it? Do you know how wonderful it is to be anonymous? And because he wasn't content to share it, he missed the party. I ain't missing that party. It takes courage to set aside jealousy and rejoice with the achievements of a rival. Could you like an example of someone who did? Or would you like an example of someone who did, not could, would? Yeah. Standing before 10,000 eyes is Abraham Lincoln, an uncomfortable Abraham Lincoln. His discomfort comes not from the thought of delivering his first inaugural address, but from the ambitious efforts of well-meaning tailors. He's unaccustomed to such attire: formal black dress coat, silk vest, black trousers, and a glossy top hat. He holds a huge ebony cane with a golden head the size of an egg. He approaches the platform with hat in one hand and cane in the other. He doesn't know what to do with either one. In the nervous silence that comes after the applause and before the speech, he searches for a spot to place them. He finally leans the cane in a corner of the railing, but he still doesn't know what to do with the hat. He could lay it on the podium, but it would take up too much room. Perhaps the floor, no, too dirty. Just then, and not a moment too soon, a man steps forward and takes the hat, returns to his seat, and listens intently to Lincoln's speech. Who is he? Lincoln's dearest friend, the president said of him. He and I are about the best friends in the world. He was one of the strongest supporters of the early stages of Lincoln's presidency. He was given the honor of escorting Mrs. Lincoln in the inaugural grand ball. As the storm of the Civil War began to boil, many of Lincoln's friends left, but not this one. He amplified his loyalty by touring the South as Lincoln's peace ambassador. He begged Southerners not to secede and Northerners to rally behind the president. His efforts were great, but the wave of anger was greater. The country did divide, and a civil war bloodied the nation. Lincoln's friend never lived to see it. He died 3 months after Lincoln's inauguration. Wearied by his travels, he succumbed to a fever, and Lincoln was left to face the war alone. Upon hearing the news of his friend's death, Lincoln wept openly and ordered the White House flag to be flown at half-staff. Some feel Lincoln's friend would have been chosen as his running mate in 1864 and would thus have become president following the assassination of the great emancipator. No one will ever know about that. But we do know that Lincoln had one true friend, and we can only imagine the number of times the memory of him brought warmth to the cold Oval Office. He was a model of friendship. He was also a model of forgiveness. This friend could just as easily have been an enemy. Long before he and Lincoln were allies, they were competitors, politicians pursuing the same office, and unfortunately their debates are better known than their friendship. The debates between Abraham Lincoln and his dear friend, Stephen A. Douglas. But on Lincoln's finest day, Douglas set aside their differences and held the hat of the president. Unlike the older brother, Douglas heard a higher call, and unlike the older brother, he was present at the party. Wise are we if we do the same. Wise are we if we rise above our hurts. For if we do, we'll be present at the Father's final celebration. A party to end all parties. A party where no powders will be permitted. Why don't you come and join the fun? I think we should. It sounds a whole lot better than those pity parties me and Mom used to have. Of course, we had a lot of fun planning them, because once we giggled, we'd start planning them. They would usually involve wine, brandy, chocolate, cake, ice cream, all the usual stuff. Well, that's the end of story 3. It was a very good one. Tomorrow is story 4, When You and Your Kin Can't. Oh, that's going to be good. So be here or be square. Love you. Bye-bye. God bless. End stream. Ending stream.